This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going back to New York City, and we're going back in time when there were crime families working through things, and there was one big guy that was doing a lot of negotiating and making favors and offers that you couldn't refuse. We're talking about The Godfather, A New Dawn. This comes out from IDW. It's for 3 to 6 players, takes about 45 minutes to play. It's sort of an area control, area majority game with some dice rolling, some secret favors. Let's take a look. At the beginning of the game, you get to pick your crime family. Of course, it's a color as well. There's 6 different ones to choose from. Here's 4, and here are the other 2. Once you pick your family, behind your screen you'll get your dice, and you get all the soldiers of your color out in front of your shield. Now in this game, you're trying to control certain areas to give your majority in certain neighborhoods. For example, the 5 neighborhoods at the end of the game, the person who controls them most is going to get 8 points, then 5 for second place, and 3 for third place. And there's different neighborhoods of different types. As you can see, the board is elongated, and there's all different ones, neighborhoods from 1 through 6. Now, one player starts as the Godfather. The first thing that you do is you roll these Vegas dice. This is skip the first round, but let's just assume we're kind of into the game, and we throw these huge dice, which are awesome. Anybody from a previous round that has one of their soldiers in these spots gets to take this. So this blue player would get to take the 1, the orange player would get to take the 2, and the purple player would get to take that. If there was like this, then this purple player would actually get to take these 2 4s, and they could use them. And then the ones that were taken go back to their player. So because other players can go here during this round and try to be lucky, bet on Vegas, and get extra dice for this round. Then everyone behind their shield will roll their dice, all my little dice, and I can decide whether or not to roll any of the Vegas dice. Let's just keep them like that, and we roll this. Then simultaneously, everybody is going to take 1 die and offer it outside of their shield as a favor to the Godfather. Now, starting to the player to the left of the Godfather goes through everybody, looks at the dice that they placed outside, and they can either take this favor, which in this case they could say, sure, I'll take your 2. The Godfather actually gets to use this 2 this round. And when the Godfather does take a favor, you get to put one of your soldiers on the number that he took. These give you special abilities throughout the game that I'll tell you about in just a moment. Now, if the Godfather didn't want this favor, he could ask for any die. He's going to say, I want you to give me a 6. Now, if I didn't have a 6, I would raise this up and show him, and he would get nothing. In this case, I do have a 6. I would have to give this to the Godfather. He would use this instead, and the 2 I would get to use. Then I would get to place my soldier either on the 2 or the 6 as on that favor track for special abilities. But in this case, he took the 6, and I'll be able to use the 2 later in this round. The Godfather will do that with every other player in the game in clockwise manner. Then starting with the Godfather, he's going to spend all of his dice and place. Now the Godfather can just basically place. They can't use any special abilities. They can't move up on the muscle track, which I'll talk about later. But let's say the Godfather finished, it's my turn, because I have these 2 big Vegas dice that you saw. So you can spend all your dice in any way you see fit and place people. So I'm going to spend these 2 to go right here because this is 2 4s. This would be 3 4s, 4 4s. Sometimes you need a straight, like this one is 3 in a row, with one of them at least being a 6. And so people are going to spend all of their dice in different fashions and being able to place their people on different sides of the board and trying to control different areas. And as I mentioned earlier, you're getting people on these when the Godfather takes favors. And if you have a guy here, you can re-roll any or all your dice. Here you can add or subtract 1 to any of your die. Here you can move one of your guys to an adjacent empty neighborhood. Here you can change one of your dice to any side. Here you can actually duplicate a die. So if I have a 4, I can imaginarily say, hey, I have 2 4s. And here I can choose any of the other abilities. And when you use one of these guys for an ability, they get taken off and put back in front of you, which is known as your house. Now, at the beginning of the round, we saw we had people on this Vegas, and you might be wondering how you get people there. Well, let's say I have some dice that I have left over that I didn't want to use. For each die I didn't use, I could place a guy on any empty spot. The number does not matter what the die is. It's just 1 die. I can place a guy in any empty spot. Let's say I place this here. I would go just like that. Now, here's the muscle track. The Godfather starts on 3. Everyone else starts at 0 in the game. I could spend a die. Let's say I have this die or any amount of dice that I want. You add up the sum of all of those. Let's say I just wanted to spend one die of 5. I would move my guy up to 5 on the muscle track. I am now the strongest. This means I can muscle out anybody less than me, which are both these other players in this guy here. So let's say I did that and I actually had 3 5s. If there's no empty places that don't have anybody that has 3 5s on it, I can now muscle this guy out and beat him out, spend my 3 5s, and move him out of that area because I have muscle over him. And this will continue until everyone has gone around and has done that. At that point in time, this whole track would just slide to the left, and the one who's the highest would go to this 3. They are the Godfather the next round. So whoever is the strongest at the end of each round on the muscle track will become the Godfather, and then this just starts like this. And that's pretty much how you play the game. You continue playing rounds like that until either one specific borough, like all the 3s, are full, or until somebody has no guys left, they're all out of his house. At that point in time, again, as I mentioned earlier, each borough is going to get scored depending on the people. If you're tied, let's say there's 2 people tied for first, you get the next lower value. They both get 3. After you score all of those, you also see who has the most soldiers in their house, and second and third place, you get 3, 2, and 1 points. Whoever has the most at the end is the winner. Hi, there is the Godfather New Dawn. I was interested in this because I like area control, area majority games. I like dice rolling. It seemed to all mix. And, you know, the Godfather, you gotta like it. The game itself is pretty good. It's got some interesting choices to make. It's quick. It's 45 minutes. I mean, when you first play this game, it's like, whoa, people start putting things out on the board. You're like, whoa, after like 15, 20 minutes, you're looking at your watch going, this could end like any minute now. We're only like a few rounds in. But as the game goes on, it gets a little bit longer because towards the end, people start muscling people out. They're really deciding on where they're going. But 45 minutes is about accurate, which is typically a pretty quick game. But I'll say that in that 45 minutes, there's a lot of really good decisions to make. There's a lot of tough decisions to make. Every stage of this game has tough decisions. Roll the dice. Okay, what am I going to offer the Godfather? Do I want to give him something that I know he's going to take because I don't want him to take the dice that are here? Or do I really want him to try to take something extra here because I'm going to put this out here? Lots of good decisions there. Do I reroll? Which ones am I going to reroll? What am I going to go after? Which special abilities am I going to use? And that's another thing that, like, hey, which things am I going to offer the Godfather? Because I might want that special ability later on. Do I go on the Vegas track? Do I go up on the muscle track to try to muscle people out? Lots of thinkiness, especially when you're looking at the board and you're seeing where everybody is and you're like, if I go there, I can own this, and this neighborhood's worth 6 points. But if I go here, I can get second, which is worth 3. But then I can muscle them out because, you know, there's lots of thinkiness here. So for a simple game that moves pretty quickly, there's not a lot of downtime here that ends really right around in 45 minutes. You look at it and you're like, whoa, that was really quick. But at the same time, you're like, wow, that felt like a good full experience. I liked it. It's interesting being the Godfather versus not being the Godfather. Being the Godfather, you can't use any of the special abilities. You can't go up on the muscle track, but you get a heck of a lot of dice to deal with stuff. So it's interesting to watch that turn hands. It's funny watching people move up and down on the muscle track. So overall, I think the mechanisms fit well. I enjoyed the game, and again, it felt like a good full experience in a game that's only 45 minutes, and it's pretty thinky and a lot of good decisions. With that being said, the theme is very light. It's barely there. Sure, you're making an offer to the Godfather, but it really could have been anything. So the theme isn't really there. The thing I most disliked about the game was the graphic design. They had these different neighborhoods, and they're all sort of muted colors, which is probably the look they're going for. But the problem is it was really hard to just look at the board and see where the neighborhoods were delineated. I wish they would have just made them all the same color of the same blocks. Some of them are, but like some of them aren't. Like the 5s I think were green and yellow. Even if there was just a thick border around some of the neighborhoods, it would have been a lot easier because it's really hard to discern where the neighborhoods end, and it just made it a little bit more, you had to work too hard to see where the borderlines ended, and it made your thinking process take longer than it should. So that's really my only negative in this game. The graphic design could have been better. But other than that, I enjoyed it. It was a fun game. If you're looking for the sort of area control, area majority with some dice rolling, some interesting mechanisms, it's definitely one to check out. Thumbs up for me, and that is The Godfather: A New Dawn.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.